Focus On panels, where I bring together a selection of people who I think are experts in their field, and we discuss a topic that hopefully is relevant to the average small business owner. So the assembled brain trust here today, a gathering, and we're going to have a little look about your online presence, so your website, maybe social media, your copy, and really, are you making enough effort to make sure that it is focusing on whatever your client needs are for your business. So we're going to have a look at some tips there and maybe some mistakes that people make. But before we do that, let's just go around the room and get to know who these lovely people are. So, Julie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Futcher. My company is The Sales Ace. And what I do is I work with businesses to help skyrocket their sales. That's done through sales training, so traditional house, classroom training, face-to-face sales, telesales, but also looking at sales strategy and sales processes and making sure that the company's got those in place, that they're working correctly, and their sales teams are using them and maximizing every element of those. So that's what I do. Julie Futcher from The Sales Ace, helping you to skyrocket your sales.
Thank you muchly. And Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Wood from Small Business Web Support, and I help small businesses with their websites. Pretty straightforward, really. I'm a web developer, so I can help businesses with all sides of websites, from the building websites through to troubleshooting. That's the bit I really liked, is to sort out people's websites when they have some problems. So yes, that's me, Sarah Wood, Small Business Web Support.
Thank you, Sarah. And Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Robinson from Your Copywriter. We do pretty much what it says on the tin there, really. We write copy for print publications. People's blogs is obviously the mainstay of this. We do, 1-2 blogs a month for type people, but we also do copy for websites, and we play well with others. We work with collaboration with social media companies, marketers, web designers, etc., to collaborate with them for their customers. So if it's written, we write it, unless it's social media, in which case we don't.
You won't have much to say about social media today, then, I'm guessing.
I didn't say I didn't know anything about it, just that I don't do it. That's the difference.
Well, we'll see where we go. So yeah, the topic is really just looking at people's online presence. So I guess if we start with their website, I guess most businesses, the majority of businesses, would have a web presence. If we come to you, Sarah, as our resident website expert, what would you say? What do you see in the small business world with people's websites? Are they making the most of them? Are they making sure that they're appealing to clients? Or what are the type of things, maybe the mistakes that people make, and some of the advice that you can give them to make their websites more effective, if any of that garble makes sense?
Yeah, well, a big thing that I often find, particularly when people are starting out, is and they're doing their website, is they're very excited about their business. They're very excited about what they do and how they can help people, and they immediately go onto the website and say, "I can do this, I can do that, I can do all these wonderful things." And what they forget is that they also want to talk an awful lot about themselves, and that's all useful things. People do by people, but it's really important not to forget about addressing your potential clients and what they're looking for, rather than just splatting lots of information about what you can do for them. And that is a big thing.
Was Kevin looking for a prize then, clapping his hands?
I was
to jump in.
No, I was totally applauding what Sarah said. Absolutely, yeah. It's for you're totally right. Do you know, there's a thing here, and there's a guy, as a copywriter, Martin Sayers, who talks about this a lot as well, who I have a lot of time for, and quite regularly post and say, do you know what, people, nobody cares about your why.
Yeah.
If they really don't. They care about the fact that you can solve their problem. Your why then might tip them into buying from you, but it's not your priority. It really isn't. And that's, for me, that's right through when it comes to websites, right from design to the copy that's on there, to the pictures, to, the contact forms. Julie knows I get really fussy about micro copy on sites, what's written on
things. You're right. It is very important to look at those things, and I do believe that you should get that information about yourself on there as well, but the priority is about how you're going to address your clients' needs and what it is. Because if they're not seeing quick, people get bored very quickly. They're going to look at your website, and if they can't immediately see that you have noticed what their problem is and that you have a solution for it, they're going to go off to someone else who does do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the other thing as well is it's being very aware of your target market. From a sales point of view, we've talked about people want to know how you can resolve their problem. But you also need to think about who you are targeting and who you are talking to, and the way that you talk to them about how you can resolve their need, want, issue, or problem. I meet a lot of people in the sales arena when I say, who's your target market? And they say to me, everybody. And although that might be true to a degree, we have to sit down and think more realistically about, well, actually, it's not everybody. You can't talk to everybody. And I'm not talking about niches here. I'm talking being more realistic about maybe it's the size of the company or the number of employees or whatever. But it is being aware of that. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, just Donna's just posted a question. How can my website stand out? If you stay with us, Donna, you might pick up some specific points on that. But if you've got anything specifically you want to ask us, then put a thing in the comment where you can in. Kevin,
how can you make your website stand out? That's a can open and worms everywhere, isn't it?
I think the big thing for me is when people go to a website, they're going to look at it. They're only going to focus initially on the top piece of information. If you're looking at it on the laptop, what we call above the fold, and it's making that particular area that's making that area stand out. So immediately catching someone's attention and innovation. So I do websites, not so good, but I'm going to save you money, that kind of thing. I'm going to improve your presence, all that. Again, we're words. So Kevin, help me out here, but on that kind of thing. But it's that bit to me is what's most important. What will make your website stand out is that address their problem very succinctly and at the top of the website.
Totally. Yeah. And one of the things that I sorry, just to pick up on that, one of the things that I get a lot when I redo a website that somebody's done themselves. You were talking about people earlier, they talk about themselves too much. You talk about the product as this, that, and 50 different things. I think one of the things that maybe we have behind the scenes that people don't have when they approach a website, quite often people have done it themselves on bloody Wix.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether the swear word was bloody or Wix there, Kevin.
Well, that's it. I said to myself, if you have to say the word Wix today in this particular focus on panel, don't add the word bloody in front of it like you normally do. They are a pain in the ass. Anyway, but what they do is they tend to throw the stuff on the screen and go, okay, well, here's how it would be. I'd have written it if I was writing it up as something to give to a client. Websites don't work that way. People read, like you said, anything above the fold, that hero stuff across the top, and then they do 30%. They'll scan on average. The IMAP show that people scan 30% of a website page. So when you put in your copy in, you really need to be thinking about making your key statements in subheads. You need to be making it in the first paragraph. And one of the other things that statistically that shows up that people think is sort of built up over the years as a myth is that Google counts words and it doesn't. And that, everybody only reads the first bit of an article. And that's absolutely untrue. Statistically, people read the last bit far more than they read the rest. So a big summation, little things like that all make a difference. So, Donna, you have to hire us. Is the answer.
And I would agree, because Kevin is currently doing my new website, which is coming out next year. Shameless plug.
You're listening to the dream team, Donna. Before Wix find this and sue us, I think it's worth saying that when you start off a business, you haven't got pots of money. You can't go and spend a lot of money on a website developer. Not that they necessarily need to cost you thousands and thousands of pounds. There's some quite interesting sort of options out there. But I think to have a presence, if Wix is your first venture into websites, then I guess in the absence of nothing, I guess it's best to have that, because nowadays most people will Google you or look for your website and try and sort of see how you're represented there. So yeah, from that point of view, I think people do start up. I think it's important then to migrate, because if you do want a website presence that Google is going to pay attention to and your clients are going to find, then you probably do need a platform that's more Google friendly, I guess.
I get that. Just to clarify, then, my problem with Wix, you're right. You're entirely right. They do provide a service, and there's others as well. What's the other one on us, and all those kind of people who do, who do these quick start websites. Yeah, absolutely. You haven't got the money. It's a good starting point, and anything's better than nothing in some cases. But it's when you try and migrate it later.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this, didn't we? In one of these came up a few months ago, about companies starting up and allocating budget around. I would always say, allocate as much as you can to the website presence, because it's your first touch of a customer most of the time.
Yeah. But one thing that is, I would always recommend to people is talk to someone. I mean, many people like myself will give you, will do a, no obligation phone call for free. And I will always do that, because I hate how much money people end up splashing out on different hosting things and setups. So they don't need to. Just a quick chat with somebody and we'll get you on a more cost-effective path. So I definitely would recommend that as well before you start. But going back to the sort of how to make the website stand.
Sorry, can I add on to a point as well? Is talk to quite a few different people as well, because each web designer has a particular style, and it's going to depend on what you also want to achieve from that. So I agree, Sarah. Speak to people, get advice. And speak to different people about their styles as well.
Yeah, great idea. If you are a new business, join a network group, join a local network group, chat to people there, go online, make some random inquiries, and always you get as much information about this stuff as you can, because I guess to some extent, I think we've been fooled these days with websites and various other things into kind of thinking that they're easy to change, and they are. These days, most people will build you out where you can nip in and do a small text change yourself or whatever. But really, it's adding time to your day. It's messing around. It's much easier. Just like Julie says, get the advice, get it right in the first place, and then all you need to do is to keep it going.
And actually, it's not about changing the website. If you find that what you've set up is not suitable for your needs, which most people that do set up with something like Wix do eventually find it's not suitable for their needs. Actually, moving your website can be quite problematic if you need to move it to a hosting. And what people don't realize, a lot of people think that moving domains and hosting is going to be a really quick job, because the internet's quick, isn't it? But it's not. Moving a domain from one hoster to another can take up to 48 hours, and in that time your email can be bouncing around like a 1980s game of Pong, and not knowing where to go. So it's actually, I really feel passionate about taking advice to get it right. So you don't need to do that, because let's face it, most people can manage without their website being around for 24 hours, unless you're on e-commerce, obviously. But email being unavailable, that's a big deal.
Agreed.
I'm not old enough to remember Pong, by the way.
No, never am I. My grandma told me about it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, in your dreams, guys. No, I think that's a good point, Sarah. I mean, I think you've touched on before you've done presentations inside the business communities. It's important to know, where your domain is hosted, what access you can get to it. So if you do need to change provider, then you've got that flexibility to, have control over your domain. So there's other things to sort of like think about, and likewise, having control of your email. So so Kevin, back to the sort of like words then. What are some of the mistakes that people make with wording on their websites? Because I guess, a lot of people think, well, I studied English at school, I can write a sentence, I'll be fine.
The biggest one is I think overall, there's a lot of little mistakes that people talk about all the time, forgetting call to actions, forgetting, like you said, what's going to go above the fold and below the fold and all that sort of stuff. And, not having a video on there somewhere, all these little bits of things that make a difference. But as far as the words go, I think the biggest mistake that people make is forgetting to sell. They go so hard down the route of telling people who they are that they then get to a situation where they find they're selling the product and selling benefits so hard that they stop selling. if you see what I mean. So they come to a stage where all they're doing is yelling at the customer, and it's not going to sell anything. What will sell is helpful content. What will sell is explaining the benefits to the customer in their terms, in their words, in words that they understand, in your voice, so that when somebody comes in, they see what you do as a benefit to them. So they go. So sometimes people very, very commonly go really hard on, buy this, it's great, we'll do you a great price, you buy off us now and get it this week, and all the ClickFunnels stuff and all the sales stuff. And in actual fact, people just walk away. What they really want is what your product does and how it benefits them. So, you know, overselling isn't selling. Benefits to customers is, and really, really, really important. Julie's already said this. We've also said this in one way or another. Know who that customer is so that you can talk to them effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think from a sales perspective, I would add on to there is your website is an opportunity to build your credibility as well. So what you've got to think about is if you are hard selling, nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. Your prospective customer wants to understand not only can you resolve their problem, but what is your pedigree? What's your background? What are you saying? Are you a leader in your field? Are you credible? This is where things like testimonials and blogs and articles and everything like that come into supporting what you're actually saying on your website as well. And all of these will go into the pot to provide that credibility, that confidence and peace of mind that yes, you can resolve the problem, and yes, you can do what you say on the tin, basically.
Yeah, because in your sales training and sales advice, Julie, you talk about WIFM. So I guess that's the same sort of thing in terms of a website, isn't it? Do you want to explain what WIFM is for people that don't?
WIFM, WIFM, what's in it for me? That's the one thing that everybody has in their mind. So people will buy because they have a need, want, issue, or problem. When they're looking at you, it's what's in it for me of coming to you. We've spoken about resolving problems, and telling people how you do that. What I've just been talking about adds into that WIFM factor. That underlines that gives that credibility, gives that confidence, that peace of mind.
Yeah.
Which,
go on, Kev.
No, sorry, I was just going to agree. I thought something. Obviously, I've known Julie for years, and Julie's such an expert in what she does, and I don't think she'd probably appreciate this. And I think it applies to websites. My dad was quite a senior sales person for various companies in the UK, Marley Roof Tiles, McVitie's Biscuits, all that sort of stuff, quite big. And I said to him once, how come you manage to sell so much? And he said, I've never sold anything. I just turn up a lot and be nice to people. And I watched him, and I've been with him, and he never sells anything. He just goes at the end, he'd be chatting away, and cup of tea, 2 sugars, jiggle that tea bag around me. How you doing? Oh, how's your kids? And he's talking to people, and he's building confidence in them, and they like him. And at the end, he goes, "Stop putting down for 50." And they go, "Yes, please." "Oh, did you want a biscuit with that?" And to some extent, your website is about that same principle, isn't it? And it's and that's what I meant by not selling. You're too busy shouting.
Absolutely. I say to people, I'm not a salesperson. I resolve problems for money. And that's the ethos that I have is for me, it's let me understand your problem and I'll tell you how I resolve it. What the lovely thing about websites are is that you can, if you know your target market, you know their needs, problems, you can answer the questions that they are coming to you with. There's a book, I can't remember, I'm turning around and looking at my library. Who is it? And Marcus, They Ask You Answer. There we go. Can't remember who it's by. But that author, that book talks about that. And that's a really great thing to have on your website. I'm going to grab the book for the author while we talk.
Grab away. There's a lot of.
There we go.
Marcus Sheridan. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Book advice as well. What more could viewers want? So there's a lot of we on websites, isn't there? We this, we that, we the other. And that very much isn't really creating a relationship with your target audience, because it's inward focused. And I think, certainly when I started, because I used to dabble and do my own websites when I first started, and I think that was my tendency to talk about me. And I think that is generally a mistake. So I think once you've identified your target audience, then you need to speak to them, don't you? And I think that's an important thing. I mean, I don't know whether you come across that Sarah, whether you I know copy necessarily isn't your expertise, but is that something that you found with people that you work with?
Definitely, and it is one of the things, and it's very difficult to try and explain that to people, because as I say, they're so excited about what they do. Trying to explain to them that actually you need to think about it from the other direction and change those we's to you's is quite hard. At the same time, you also don't want people to lose sight of what's special about them, and it is a hard balancing act, which is why it's important to get good copy and good copywriters. I mean, with the website, I've only the last year or so put my picture on front and center on the website, which seems at odds with what we've been saying about how it's important to focus on your clients. But it's getting that absolute balancing act. It's getting your clients to know you and trust you, like as Julie was it Julie or Kevin? Anyway, someone was saying about getting your clients to trust you, and that you know what you're talking about, and showing that actually their problems are first and foremost in your mind about what you can solve.
Sarah, I've just been doing the same thing on my new website. Kevin will tell you the struggle I've had about actually feeling comfortable putting my own more of me on it. But I had to sit down and really embrace the fact that, particularly when you're on your own in a business, you are the brand.
Yes. That's exactly right. Yeah,
I think it's one of my bugbears around websites is the sort of like about us page. So Julie, you talked about credibility. People buy from people ultimately, and it's quite difficult with an online presence to start building that rapport and relationship. Kevin, you talked about videos. Videos is good because they're a little bit more personal than words and less open, I guess, to interpretation. But I just think when I go to a website, if I'm looking for a supplier, I go for the about us page, and if it's all pretty much corporate speak rather than hi, I'm Fred, I'm the managing director, we work with Julie, who's the our sales expert. So, you want to know who the people are, and you very rarely say that. And the other thing is, sometimes, and Sarah, you might be able to advise on this in terms of structure website. Sometimes it's so difficult to find the contact us thing. It's not.
Don't get me started.
It's not a main menu item. You've got to go and sort of like do a drop down to find the contact us, or you've got to scroll through about 2.5 screens worth to find the contact details at the bottom. Yeah. And it's like, guys, come on, surely what you want is somebody to call you or contact you or email you or connect with you on social media. So, back to the first fold, have it there, have it up in the top headline, your telephone number, your email address, or both, or whatever.
Sarah, how many websites have you come across where the contact details were in 8-point text on the bottom thing only after?
Yeah. There is a reason why a lot of websites look very similar. Websites go through fashions, and those fashions, so websites will all look very similar. But there's a really good reason for that. Yes, all right, the big corporations may have something different, but people expect to find the contact details right at the top. They expect to see a phone number. They expect to see a contact us on the main menu, and they expect to find them in the footer as well. Obviously, you want your call to actions littered through about, and maybe drop it in as well. But those 3 places, it absolutely has to be in, because that's where people will expect to see it. And if you can't find it, as I said, people have very little patience. If they can't find it, they're going to go find someone who they can contact easily.
That's that 30% I was talking about, where they scan 30% of the page. Yeah. That's the 30% that's right in there. Where's the contact? Who am I looking at? Who are these people? But Paul said something there that I think was said more than he meant to when he said I go to a website, I look at the stuff, I go to the about page, and you start clicking there how many pages he's been through. And I think it might have been Marcus Sheridan said this, that they, when they looked at it for a high value purchase, might not have been. Now I've said Liz has got it.
It's not like we're live or anything or recording it.
So. No, I just noticed Liz Murphy she's got they ask you answer on the Trello board, so she may go and have a look for us. But there's something like 30 pages to make a high value purchase. They go through
Yeah.
30 pages of information to make a high value purchase. So having a website that is talking just about you and doing all the we and not you stuff and all the things we've talked about here, it's 30 pages worth of opportunities to annoy them and make them go somewhere else. And the
Yeah.
reason it's so important you don't do that is if they go through those pages and do call you from that number that's right at the top there where they can easily find it, they're on average 75 to 80% decided to buy.
Yeah.
75 to 80%. Don't turn that away. Don't do
No.
don't do things that put off, please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
God,
don't get me
that.
started then on the people that will get leads come through off the website and don't do anything. That makes my heart cry. That makes my heart cry. If you're saying that, Kev, that 75 to 80% of people that are reaching out to you are ready to buy, and then those leads aren't follow up, I just want to crawl into bed and put a duvet over my head and cry, because you're just turning away business. Anyway, I'll have my rant.
It's always worth checking. A lot of people don't actually check that those forms and things on the website actually work. It's a really good idea to check that every now and again. I've lost track of the number of times I've filled in a form on a website and then nothing has come back to it because that message has gone into coal. So every now and again, just check these things all still working and make sure they're all coming through to you just as you expect, because a year in the internet is a long time, and things change. You've changed things and you won't have necessarily remembered that you've got to do this, that, and the other. So yeah, just test those contact channels are all working.
And from a layman's point of view, and I'm non-techie, I would say to people out there is take responsibility for looking at your Google Analytics. From a point of view of just trying to get your head around understanding the journey, because that is going to help you with keeping your website up to date, talking to the right people to get copy, talking to Sarah about the journey that these people are taking, Kevin about copy, and understanding what happens with your website. Don't just put it up there. A website isn't just for Christmas, guys. It does need feeding.
It does.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
What, a website isn't just for Christmas?
Yeah, a website, it needs feeding. I'm going to steal that, Julie, because I'm a writer. That's what we do.
Well, you may have it. My love.
You're spoiling it.
I know.
We're talking about presence here, and we're talking about those 30 pages and all that sort of stuff. And the other thing is, Julie, you said about we're stamping our feet at you a little bit about making you be on the front of this, and how much I was behind you being the face of that. And Sarah, you're putting we're not, when we're talking about online presence, we're talking about websites so far, but people will look who you are. They're going to go and look on LinkedIn. They're going to look at your Facebook page. That picture of you lying in the gutter in Mallorca is not appropriate.
I saw some interest. Talking about just quickly, I saw some very interesting stats I just want to share with you from LinkedIn. I had an email from them about profiles. 49% of buyers will check out your LinkedIn profile before reaching out to you. 50% of them will only buy from a salesperson who've got a completed profile. And 92% of buyers only engage with people that they think are industry leaders. I thought they were really, really interesting stats. So if you think about maybe somebody sees you on LinkedIn and then they're coming through into your website to find out more, with those sorts of stats, it is so important to get this right.
Yeah, I know we've focused on websites up until now, but I think it's important to look at the wider online presence. If you are using different social media platforms, you don't have to use all of them. You don't have to be on every single one. Just look at the ones that you think are going to be relevant to your target audience. Back to that. So your message can be consistent across those platforms. But yeah, it's another little bugbear of mine is people not having a completed profile, or they've got a business domain, but they've got a Gmail email address. It's like just complete the circle, or complete the square, whatever the expression is, so you've got this consistency. Your social media needs to emulate the brand that you've got on your website, so people recognize it's still you. And you've got to think about the content that you're posting, because ultimately you're trying to get people to take action either from your social media profile to go back to your website so you can engage them there, or keep them on your social media profile and engage them there. So, you know, it does need some strategy behind this in terms of what you're doing with your website and your online presence, and having it be consistent to that. So yeah, absolutely, it's important to have all your ducks in a row, I'd say.
Absolutely.
And it's also it's vital to show that you're that you are current and up to date as well. That, I mean, for me, a social media presence, it's not just about showing that you know what you're talking about. It's also showing that you are, you know, you're still there and you're still doing it. If I go to a Facebook page and there's no posts, or there's no posts for a year, I think, are they still in business? Are they still going to be around to help me? So we'll probably go with someone who is more up to date.
Yeah.
But these things are linked, you know. That's the I think the thing that people forget sometimes is that they're not one thing anymore. You know, they haven't been for years. It's your LinkedIn profile is as much a part of the way that you present yourself to the world, you know, as the great work Sarah's done designing a whooshy, lovely website, and everything that she can do and everything I can do and all the training Julie can give you, it'll all fall down if somebody goes to it, like you said, a Facebook page, and you haven't posted for 18 months. You know, it's you've got to be.
Or you're doing something that you think is incredibly funny, but you wouldn't necessarily want your clients to see you doing, but you forget and put it on Facebook.
You're talking about my Friday funnies now.
I am talking. No, not your Friday funnies. No, you know, Facebook. I'm talking about Facebook more here, or I don't do TikTok or whatever. But the amount of times I see people will do rants about things over personal shares, that, you know, there's all sorts of things that are shared on your Facebook. Now, if you are a business owner and you've got your business page on there, your prospective clients are going to check out your personal profile as well at some point. Prospective clients might do that, you know, from other sort of things. So you've got to be a little bit careful, guys.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to post that sort of thing, then create your personal profile away from a business Facebook profile. Invite your friends into it, make it private, and then you can do what you want to do then. But you've got to be aware. You've got to be aware.
It's a good point. A couple of things come to mind with that. You know, is people have used Facebook, their personal profile, you know, to put some business stuff on there, and then come the weekend, you know, it's videos of them out on the town pissed. So it's like, you know, that people are still going to see that sort of stuff. So, you know, I get pissed as much as you like, you know, not my issue about how you run your life, but if you're using your personal profile to attract business, is that the sort of thing that you want to be on there? Because people will see that and form an opinion about, you know, it's about your credibility. So yeah, it's being conscious of as I touched on, getting all your ducks in a row, really, in terms of what impression you want to give as a business owner, both on your through your website and your social media presence, because it's, you know, primarily it's in the public domain.
Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to content, of course. Liz is just said about her. They ask you answered it. Is I follow Liz on LinkedIn, and I pause.
Not in a stalkery sort of way, hopefully.
I follow Liz on LinkedIn, and
no,
I'm joking, Liz. I'm joking. Sorry. I don't stalk Liz, but she regularly puts up pictures of the food she's made to be for buffets and things like that, and it always makes me stop and look, because you're scrolling through LinkedIn and it's all the usual, you know, join my course and earn $1 million, blah 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 blah, and then up comes 8 trays of beautifully cooked, you know, meals that Liz knows, and I always stop and go, that looks fantastic, and it's a simple thing, you know, but if you look at what she's done there with a very simple thing, it's absolutely spot on. It made me stop. It reinforced the brand to me of I Cook You Serve. That's what I would recommend to anybody who asks me for catering now, because I've you know, partly because of that. The pictures are attractive. It's what she does.
Yeah.
You know, and it's linking directly into her overall brand. Perfect.
And that's pretty good for you, because normally you'd stop at a picture of pot noodle, wouldn't you?
I love pot noodle. Yeah. Noodle Wars. I love Noodle Wars. From a copywriting point of view, instant noodles are absolutely a study, masterclass story. Different story, but they are.
The other thing, just to sort of like say, we did touch on it, is being current. You know, as you said, Sarah, if people are looking around, if you've got stuff that 2-3 years old, people are going to wonder whether you are still alive. So that applies both to sort of like your social media presence. So if you've got like effectively a dormant or dead Twitter account, just get rid of it. Really, there's no point in having it if you're not active on those profiles. Likewise with blogs, you know, you see the little blog across the top menu, you go and click on the blog, and the last blog was 2015, and you think, okay, still might be valuable content. That's absolutely fine, but again. Yeah. Are you still alive? Are you there? I mean, there's a cheat on that. If you're able to change the date of when the blog is published, if you haven't got around to sort of keeping it current, you can go and change the date of the blog so it looks. There is a cheat around that, just so it looks current. But again,
throw a statistic in on that one.
Right? You may see it if you want to sort of dazzle us with science.
Here's an interesting thing: if you update a blog and post that you've updated it, you'll get an uplift on your original readership. Sometimes, and I think if I remember right, I said the statistic, bravely said that, and then I think I've forgotten it. But I think it's about 125% lift. So you get 125% views equivalent to the first post by saying this has been updated, because it does something that copywriters look, which it pins right to the FOMO element. It's the fear of missing out. Everybody goes, "Oh, that's changed. I better go and find out." And you'll get a lift. So why change the date on it? Just go in and change a few lines, put something new in it, and say, I've just updated this blog on your social media. Take you 20 minutes. Take 20 minutes. You've just hit on one. Julie got really annoyed about people not following up on inquiries. Out-of-date blogs drive me insane.
So that's 2 people so far have annoyed on this call. We've just got to annoy Sarah now. What annoys you, Sarah?
Sarah, what annoys you?
What annoys me? Oh my goodness. Out-of-date websites that just haven't changed for the last 7 or 8 years. Really, it does annoy me, because it's, as you said, as we've all said before, your website is part of your greater presence, and it's just about really important about keeping these little things up to date, paying attention. It shows to your clients you're paying attention to your business. So yeah, I suppose that's my biggest bugbear.
I tell you what I'm going to have to do, Sarah, when I do some calls for clients and I look on people's websites, I'll email you website of the week.
I do
crappy ones.
I do a presentation where I show websites from big companies who really should know better and how they get it all completely wrong. And you'd be amazed at some of the bigger companies that just really should know better.
Yeah, and the other thing, which is why Kevin's in the business that he is write copy so like an average 10 and 8-year-old can understand it, because I look at some websites, and it's not clear from the domain what they do, and I read a couple of paragraphs and I'm still not clear what they do. Now I appreciate some industries do have a certain element of techno speak, and it may be that I'm not your target audience, so I won't understand that. But particularly in the technological domain, there's so many 3-letter and 4-letter acronyms. There's so many technical terms that isn't solving my problem. I don't care, what software you use or whether you're a stack developer or what. That means nothing to me. It's like, are you going to make my CRM work, or are you going to increase traffic to my website, and all this sort of stuff. And I think people over egg it sometimes and try and make themselves sound too clever by all these large, complicated words that you just go to their homepage and you just have no idea what they do.
Yeah, but and overuse of this is sacrilege for me to say this, but overuse of hyperbole and big grand statements and all that sort of. Just tell me what you do. Just tell me how it benefits me. And Sarah, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. Overproduce websites with great big flashy JavaScript, and you've got to wait 3 seconds for it to load, and then when it comes up, it tells you something you didn't want to know anyway. I do deal with quite a lot of technical products. Done one. I've got the leaflet on my desk here, but we did one for a customer who works in care homes, and this product basically stops infection spreading, and it's highly technical. And what we did was produce a leaflet that said, if this product stops 3 people this year getting norovirus on your team, and it does that 3 times, it'll save you £10,000 off your bottom line. And that was all that mattered, was it? You know what I mean? That was
a bit of an advantage, that client coming round to your care home then, wasn't it?
It was. Particularly while I was in there visiting you.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Touche.
Well done.
Okay, so I think we're going a little bit off track.
But it is part of the presence, you know, and for your business presence, if you don't oversimplify, because that's worse, but if you get those key points down as a person, as an individual, what you believe in, what you want to do, what your business believes in, what it wants to do, but most of all, right on the top of that pyramid, the point of that pyramid, what your product does and how it benefits people. If you get all that in language people understand, presented on a website that they can use, and then your salespeople follow that message through at the point of sale, you're going to get the sale. You're going to get the business.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm conscious of time. We don't want to sort of bore people for too much longer. So is there any sort of final point or final tip that you want to give or reiterate just before we sort of close this session down? Julie, is there anything you want to share from your pearls of wisdom?
Follow up your leads on your website.
Oh, she's still angry about that, isn't she? Calm down, Julie. Calm down.
No, I think we've covered an awful lot off in this. You know, your online presence is important. From me, it's understand your target market, understand who you're talking to, and that is a one big start. And then follow up your leads on your website. There we go.
Let it go. Let it go.
I'm sorry. I just can't.
Sarah, anything from you?
Less is nearly always more. I think it's too tempting to just cram so much. You've got so much out there, cram it onto your website, onto your front page. It's nearly always better to have a lot less than you want to. So less is more. That would be my final thing.
Yeah, the websites I used to develop were in WordPress, and WordPress is quite a reasonable platform. But the problem with that is there's a plugin for everything, and it's so tempting to go, let's install that plug, let's install it. It got to the point where I think on the previous website before I outsourced it to someone that knew what they were doing, that when my website used to load, the lights used to dim because there's so many plugins. That just makes it slower and more cumbersome and stuff like that. So my word of warning is, don't get drawn into all the myriad of WordPress plugins. I think some of you know Tom. I think he took a look at one of my WordPress sites at one point because of a problem. I think nearly fell off his chair. I don't think he'd seen that many plugins installed on one website. Anyway, we digress again. So, Kevin, any last pointers from you?
I emphasize again the importance of blogging and keeping your site turning over with new content. I'm not an SEO specialist, but there are certain SEO things that everybody knows. Anybody who deals with websites knows that's one of them. Refresh content is great. Be helpful at the minute. The helpful content algorithm is really hitting people's SEO at the minute, because Google now knows if you used auto-generated content and treats it as spam. It knows things like whether you're trying to sell or whether you're trying to be helpful. And the AI is doing a pretty hefty job of knocking sites down for that. But overall, remember that your customers are first. Talk to them in a way that builds your presence in every bit of your presence, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether you're twittering, whether you're tweeting, whatever. Think of it as a whole and create a presence that works for your customers.
Okay. Thank you very much. So hopefully Donna got some insights there, and thanks to Liz for tuning in, and anybody else. It's our final one for this year. So thanks for joining us, guys. And we'll